Welcome to The Hair Loss Show. Dr. Russell Knudsen and Dr. Vikram Jayaprakash discuss issues relating to hair loss and the medical and surgical treatment of hair loss in both men and women.
Hi everybody, welcome to The Hair Loss Show. I'm Dr. Russell Knudsen.
And I'm Dr. Vikram Jayaprakash, and welcome back to today's episode. Really good to have you join us in today's episode. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. And today we want to talk about alopecia areata. And we've talked about alopecia areata before on the channel, but we thought it'd be worthwhile
Update.
and taking a bit of a deeper dive into the whole thing.
So I had the privilege recently of going to the European Hair Research Investigators meeting, and we were presented with some new research on alopecia areata that I want to share with you, because I'm sure within our audience there are either sufferers from alopecia areata, a devastating condition, if it goes on for any length of time, or who have children, for example, that have alopecia areata. So the theory in recent years behind alopecia areata is it's some kind of autoimmune process, and by that I mean that it happens when the body's immune system gets confused with its recognition systems and sees the hair follicle proteins as foreign proteins and attacks them. And supportive evidence for this is histological, meaning it was done on biopsy, where you could see inflammatory cells from the immune system sitting around the bulbs, or the empty bulbs, if you like, of the hair follicle. So in effect, the follicle is sort of switched off. So that's and also there's been an increased association with other conditions that also are considered to have this kind of autoimmune basis to do with the thyroid or muscles or other parts of the body. So there is an association with it. There is a genetic association. It's very common in the population, 1%, and basically it is very, very. You can start from a very, very small thing, like a small patch about the size of a 20-cent piece. Or it can, in fact, expand to the entire scalp, or the eyebrows, eyelashes, or body hair as well, which is the most devastating version of it. And unfortunately, it seems to be more severe in children than in adults. But interestingly, this idea about it just being an autoimmune condition has been challenged recently, because there also appears to be another version of it that doesn't have a correlation with other autoimmune conditions and might be just a simple response to an immune challenge. So, for example, there is a version of alopecia areata that exists in southern China that appears to be a direct correlation to a dust mite allergy in sensitive individuals. So there are individuals called atopic individuals, I'm one of them, that are more susceptible to immune responses. And the three things that are typically seen with immune responses are hay fever, dermatitis, and asthma. Right, so these are the sort of things that are more common in these individuals. But there appears to be a specific correlation between a dust mite response, allergy response, and alopecia areata. So now investigators are looking at this idea that there is a version of alopecia areata that is more inflammatory in its response to some kind of something that's been presented to it. And this is the response of the body. It's still an abnormal response, if you like, but it doesn't necessarily correlate with the body attacking itself as we see in other organs.
So, I mean, because we've talked about alopecia areata before, under the banner of autoimmune condition and the treatment for that being, either waiting and just watching it, letting it settle, and the condition just resolves, stabilizes, and the hair will return. We can expedite that by injecting steroid into the area, and we've also talked about JAK inhibitors as well. In terms of with this, not necessarily new form, but this discovery that there could be an external source that's also causing it. Treatment is generally the same?
Right, so you're still going to use anti-inflammatory treatments.
Yeah.
So I think that's not going to change particularly the way we treat.
Yeah.
But it explains unusual cases, I guess, if you like. So we're still going to use anti-inflammatories, which could be cortisone, for example. You can also use oral anti-inflammatories, for example, as part of the process. You could use, in theory, if you could identify the trigger, like this dust mite, you could do desensitization therapies, the specific desensitization therapies, if we were able to identify the specific cause of it. So there's that aspect of it that really would be quite useful. But the JAK inhibitors, luckily there's evolution of these, because alopecia areata can be a simple single patch that can, 80% of them tend, if it's a single patch and they'll tend to resolve within 6 months whether you treat or you don't treat. The real problem sign is when you get multiple patches at the same time, or you get it in the margin around here. That's a bad version. It's usually more aggressive, or in children it's more aggressive as well. So they're the ones that are more likely when they've lost a very large amount, or better than 50% of their hair. These are the ones where the JAK inhibitors come into play.
Yeah.
And luckily the newer ones are much more target specific than the older ones, and so much smaller risk of side effects with them, and so they're becoming increasingly popular. These are dermatology managed conditions, so you need to see a dermatologist.
Yes.
But a JAK inhibitor is for the severe version, the things that we're talking about, the cortisones, the minoxidils, and the anti-inflammatories are for the lesser versions of the condition. So just be aware that the big guns are saved for the severe ones. But the beauty of it is that with the recent evidence for the JAK inhibitors, that is that in 40% of these people with these long-standing, very aggressive, non-responsive therapies, 40% responded by growing more than 80% of their hair back, which is, a huge improvement on anything that we've managed in the past. So things are improving. It's still a devastating condition if it's severe, and unfortunately it is potentially recurrent. So if you have one episode of it, you're more likely to have a second episode sometime later in life. But therapies are getting better.
Yeah. Good. I think that's really hopeful, promising, in the sense that certainly people that have recurrent episodes of alopecia areata that we're not able to get on, a handle on, this could be another option of, let's investigate more the immune side of things.
That's right. These have got an abnormal immune response to
and see if that's a
so
channel.
test it like you would test your dermatitis patients, test
Correct.
your asthma patients,
Yes.
and test your hay fever patients.
Yeah, so that's something else to consider. So that's really good. I found that's really interesting, and hopefully that will open the doors for a lot of people.
Okay.
Good. Well, thank you very much for watching. Hope you found that useful as well. And again, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you again on the next episode.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.